Tonight on a very special TGIF, meet the all-wholesome Canadian family. The father's a filmmaker and his kids want to follow in their daddy's footsteps. Join in the laughter as this family gets into all kinds of shenanigans. Meet the Cronenbergs on this episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Attention planet Earth and beyond. Stay tuned for Attack of the Killer Podcast. 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 Yay!
What?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Attack of the Killer Podcast. I'm your host, Insane Mike, and this is number 339. We're going to be talking about the Cronenberg family. We picked a film from each member of the family. You got Papa Cronenberg, Junior Cronenberg, and Sis Cronenberg, and we will see which one is too hot, which one is too cold, and which one is just right. Attack of the Killer Podcast is a horror movie podcast where a group of friends get together with a topic and we discuss films within that topic. We're just friends hanging out, talking about horror movies, so, you know, just casual. There may be spoilers.
There will be spoilers.
Okay, fair enough. Now I'm going to take a moment here to announce our new Attack of the Killer Podcast contest. If you join our Discord, you can get a chance to win one of 4 prize packages. Each member of the podcast has put together a variety of horror merch for each prize package. All you have to do for a chance to win is join our official Attack of the Killer Podcast Discord at aotkp.com/Discord. You just introduce yourself in our welcome intros channel and tell us your favorite horror movie and how you found Attack of the Killer Podcast. Also, you could share a pic of your horror collection in the collection sharing channel. The contest is going to run from the 1st to August 31st. One winner will be randomly selected on the last day of each month. So you could check out the prize packages and all the contest rules on our Discord. Again, that's aotkp.com/Discord. Now, if you like the show, maybe you should join our Patreon. When you become part of the Attack of the Killer Podcast family, you become what we call an attacker. As an attacker, you get all kinds of special perks, exclusive just for you. We have our bonus episodes every other week on the opposite weeks of the regular show. So if you are an attacker, you can listen to us every single week. Our next bonus episode, we're going to be talking about which movies we wish were on 4K. So you don't want to miss that. You want to join up just for that. But there's more. You get our YouTube shows, Insane Mike's 1 Minute Top 10 lists, video updates, and killer critiques. You get your own membership card, sticker, and certificate, as well as your own t-shirt or even original art by me called Mikey's Monsters. Being a part of the family, you can pick movies for our Patreon Picks episodes or our watch parties. We just had a really sweet Lost Boys watch party about a week or so ago at the time of recording. It was a blast. You don't want to miss out on those watch parties, man. They're a lot of fun. You can also be part of our chat called Attack of the Killer Chat. And you can get shout-outs on the show like these attackers right here.
Timothy Leonard, Roman Doppelfeld, Larry Watanabe, Brett J. Royer, Jessica Irish, Chris Cook, Brian Godsell, Stefan Sitter, Brandy Moore, Andrew Mahler, Rodney Dean Hutchinson Jr., Carmen DeHague, Abraham Ariano, Andrew Bentler, Casey Kelderman, Tony Miller, Mike Clayton, Rose Talashoma, Abe Kirshner, Lisa Cavalier, Holly Berg, Bill Fisher, Greg Dedrick, Sam Lenz, Garth Jacobson, Brett White, Tiffany DeWeese, Scott Reebsman, Chris Collins, and Jacob McLaughlin.
So don't be late. Become an attacker today. It's so easy. Just go to jointheattackers.com, pick the tier that best suits you, and join in on all the fun. Again, that's jointheattackers.com. And now with all that nonsense out of the way, it's time to introduce you to the podcast crew. Dr. Brundle talked him into trying the teleportation pods, only instead of a fly, it was a grizzly bear that snuck into a pod with him. Now he's so mad that if he ever sees Brundle again, he'll tear him apart with his bare hands. Tad!
That was a long one to follow. Hey guys, thanks for listening.
That's what she said. So he started a Sinatra tribute band that only sings songs about body horror. It's called Cronenbergs. Brian!
I would buy that CD. Hello, everybody.
And last but not least, our very special guest, the top side of the Bubble Boys, and one of the hosts of The Wrong Podcast Died, the man that makes you ask the question, if he's on the show, who's going to leave a voicemail? Rod Hutchinson!
Hey, everybody.
So awesome to finally have you on the show, Rod. It's about damn time.
Thanks.
That's what I gotta
Appreciate
say.
That's right.
Well, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm on The Wrong Podcast Died, which is like a subcast of I Like It Spooky Horror podcast. I do all kinds of stuff. I have a Facebook page where you can follow all the horror movies I post. And we finally came up with The Wrong Podcast Died page also. And I'll list some of the movies that I see on there that aren't horror.
Oh, okay. Sweet. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, man. It's going to be a blast having you on the show.
Yeah, I mean, our listeners hear you every week anyways, but they're going to get a little more Rod, if you know what they say.
They probably hear Godsell more than they hear me, though.
I mean, if you keep bringing him up, yeah.
Yeah. He's paying me to do this.
Oh, nice.
To bring up his name.
I get you.
Oh, is it like a nickel every time you bring up his name?
Something like
A
that.
nickel? Got a nickel?
You have to understand, like, that could buy groceries back in Mike's day, okay?
Hey, now. So if you're wondering, hey, there's a voice missing. Well, Jason is currently out on assignment. He's a midwife for a couple of home births. His job is to rip open the baby's the placenta and pull the baby out and lick the baby clean with his teeth. That didn't work.
I get the Cronenberg thing, but
I should say licking someone with your
slaughtered
teeth is a very Cronenberg thing, actually.
Yeah. I just slaughtered that whole thing. This is why we rehearse. Anyway,
You
so
rehearse?
I
never got
do.
that note.
Sometimes I do. I'm thrown off because he's not here, and I usually record at his house. So all I got to do is show up, plug my laptop in. So I silently read over my notes before we record. And here today, I'm doing like 1,000 different things, recording from my home. So
we miss you,
it's
Jason.
throwing me off. Yes, we miss you for sure. We wish you all the luck.
Delivering
cleaning
those
with your
babies.
teeth. Yes. Anyway, so let's find out what we've been watching besides movies for the show. Here's Tad with what we watched.
Well, I figured you haven't talked enough yet, Mike. But besides the empty seat next to you that you're crying over, what have you watched recently?
All right, I only have a couple. So I've been trying to go through films in my collection that I've never watched before. Speaking of Jason, I inherited his movie collection a couple years ago, and there's a lot of stuff that he had that I had never seen before. I just recently watched for the first time St. Vincent with Bill Murray and Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah.
That movie's great. I don't know why I ever slept on that one, man. I thought it was awesome. Never have I seen a movie that has such an asshole of a character, and yet you're crying at the end of the movie. I thought it was great. I think it's one of the best things Bill Murray's ever done. That's my opinion. And then I also just watched, so excited, finally got to see this. It finally has gone from rent to free on Prime, and that's Frankie Frico.
Yeah.
The new film.
Oh, that's finally free on Prime.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Oh, now you guys can, because it's free.
The only person I knew that watched it said it wasn't good, and I'm like, but I also don't trust his taste, so I want to hear what you had to say.
Well, I remember Jason a few weeks back. I thought he said he saw it.
Okay.
Or maybe he was... No, I think I'm wrong. I think he just sent me the trailer,
Okay.
and that's how I first learned about it. That's what it was. I think it's great. I mean, you got to go in knowing it's made by the guy who made Psycho Gorman and all those other films and all the Astron 6 stuff. Knowing that it's a skewed universe that's slightly off kilter, and it's supposed to be ridiculous. But dude, it is such a amazing, once again, another amazing 80s love letter tribute to all of those little creature movies where the creatures get into shenanigans, like Gremlin. Well, specifically, I really feel like
Munchies.
this is really going for the Ghoulies
Okay.
more than anything else, especially Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College.
Specifically.
Specifically, I mean, there's like moments in this movie that just kind of reminds me of scenes from the third Ghoulies movie. Not to mention that I meant to take notes on this and I didn't, so I'm not going to remember anybody's names or anything. But the actor that is in all of those movies, he played the father in Psycho Gorman. He played the lead in Father's Day. Anyway, he plays the main character's boss in this, and the boss's character's name is Mr. Buechler.
Okay.
So John
Carl?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can't tell me that this is not a Ghoulies tribute, but it also feels like there's a lot of Garbage Pail Kids movie in this as well. Because the little guys, there's three of them, and the main one, Frankie Frico, he's kind of the greaser character, leather jacket, big poofy black hair, and then you got one of them that is a cowgirl for some reason, and then you have another one that is like half cyborg.
And they all went to college.
Well, college doesn't play into it. I'm just saying there's like moments that just remind me of Ghoulies Go to College. But there's also some Gremlins tribute in there. Like at one point, there's a character that is flirting with the female Frico, who's the cowboy. The cowboy is a female, and one of the characters is flirting with it, just like the female gremlin in Gremlins 2. Just totally reminded me of that scene. But it's still got the same outrageous, over-the-top humor of those movies. And all those movies felt like there was all these shenanigans going on, but it still felt safe. This is like the shenanigans are turned up to 12 and no one is safe. And then it just goes off the rail when they end up going to the Frico's home planet, and then there's this whole thing. So I'm just saying, if you like Psycho Gorman or Borg or Father's Day or The Editor, any of those Astron 6 movies, I think you're really going to dig this one.
So Tad, now a question for you. You said up until now the only person you know who saw it said they didn't like it and you don't trust their taste. But now Mike says it's good, and I assume I'm going to like it too. And you don't trust our taste either.
Well, here's the thing.
So now what?
I honestly was only excited, not only excited, but I was mainly excited because of who's behind the movie. Like, I love Psycho Gorman.
Sure.
So hearing Mike say, if you like those things, you'll like this. Like, I'm guessing the person that told me this was maybe not ready for that. I don't know if they've even seen Psycho Gorman. So I trust his review. I mean, you guys don't always give bad suggestions.
So, is this also what came on Shudder this month?
Is it on Shudder? Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is on Shudder. I don't know. I haven't been on Shudder in quite a while. It might be. I don't know.
It listed as a 2024, though.
Yeah, that would be it.
Oh,
okay.
The puppets are great. They are just these rubbery little humanoid creatures that almost they look like maybe 1 degree above one of those Boglins. Boglins. Yeah, those little toys you could get. It almost just looks like they were just redressed Boglins, but but just little rubber monster creatures. Just always so much fun.
When I saw it, I thought of Gwilliam, and if you guys are familiar with Gwilliam.
Oh, you sent out some stuff. You sent out one of those short films not
Yeah.
too long ago.
Yeah.
That stuff was super cool. Yeah, if you like that, I think you're gonna like this.
Okay, right on. So is that what?
Anyway,
you
that's
watched?
that's all
Okay.
I watched.
With a big sigh, Brian, what have you watched?
Come on. Starting out with Girl Slaves of Morgana Le
told you.
Fay.
Oh, come on!
This is a new 4K from Mondo Macabro. It's a movie I'd known about for a while, but there hadn't been a good version of it since I think Mondo Macabro did it on DVD, and then just jumped right to 4K. It's one of Pete Toombs, who runs Mondo Macabro. It's one of his favorite movies, so I assumed I was in good hands blind buying this one. And it's just the kind of sleepy 70s gothic Euro smut that I love. It's basically, Mom, I want some Jean Rollin. Honey, we have Jean Rollin at home. And this is Jean Rollin at home. It's kind of the same deal, but just not quite as good. But it's still well worth a watch. I very much liked it. It was exactly what I was in the mood for when I put it on. Continuing my trek down Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Damn, you're still going? Damn.
Street. Oh yeah, we still got a couple more. But actually, see, I thought I had more than I did left, because I, for some reason, thought he was in at least some of the Bloodsport sequels.
No.
But apparently that's not the case. So I think what we have left is the Double Impact. Which video game movie was he in?
Street Fighter.
Was he in Street Fighter? Okay, so we got, and I saw that when I was a kid, but I haven't seen it in 35 years or whatever. So, yeah. Anyway, so we watched Legionnaire, and much like The Order, this isn't the kind of thing you go to a JCVD movie for. It's a mostly okay historical war movie, but he doesn't kickbox anybody in it at all. There's one scene at the beginning where he's like a regular boxer, and then that's it. It's just gunplay and whatever. But I mean, it's decent, but it wasn't really what I was in the mood for, so meh. Speaking of Shudder, we watched a movie that's brand new, just came out as a Shudder exclusive, called Frewaka. Have you guys seen this on there?
Nope.
Clicking through?
Never watched it.
It's a great Irish folk horror movie. And I do mean Irish. Most of the movie is actually in Irish. So it's all and even when they're speaking English, the subtitles stay on because a lot of the accents are so thick you wouldn't be able to understand them anyway. But it's about a woman who gets hired to provide home care for an elderly lady who has had some kind of like a stroke or some sort of breakdown and won't leave her house. Turns out she's agoraphobic, not because she doesn't want to be around people, but because she lives kind of out in the this rural area where fairies are still a thing. And I think we talked about The Hallow a few episodes back, and it was like 6 months ago or something, when we did the fungus one, where it tried to tie the fairy mythology together with these fungus creatures and whatever. This is just straightforward supernatural folk horror, and it's excellent. We watched a movie. Terry just randomly picked this off of Tubi, and I messaged Mike about it. Frankenstein General Hospital. I'm pretty sure it gave me brain damage.
Now you're Frankenstein.
It's very bad.
So yeah,
I watched last.
Tad, if you
go ahead.
Wonder about Brian and I's recommendations,
He did not recommend it.
he didn't recommend it, and when he asked me about it, I told him I shut it off. I didn't even finish it. So there you go.
It has a great title. That's too bad it's a waste.
Too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I assumed it was the kind of thing Mike would, because it's that sort of cornball 80s comedy that Mike usually loves. So, like, do you like this movie? And he's like, I couldn't even finish it. I'm like, oh, God, no.
Yep.
I'm in for a bad time here. We watched Last Stop in Yuma County.
Fuck
That was
yeah.
fantastic.
Great movie.
Yep.
He's doing the new Evil Dead.
And
No, the
Jim
director
Cummings is?
of Last Stop in Yuma County. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm even more excited
Bruce
for that.
and Sam Raimi saw that and were like, let's get this fucking guy to do it.
This is the guy. Yeah, I can see that too. That style fitting very well,
super tense.
for sure. Yeah, I watched him. Continuing trying to make myself feel as bad as possible. I watched a movie called Trauma, which it came out in 2017. I'd never heard of it until like a week or two ago, and a friend of mine posted something about watching it on Facebook, so I looked it up. It's basically the Chilean version of Serbian film.
Oh my!
It doesn't quite hit that level of gut punch, just a horrible feeling, gross out, because some sequences are very effective, but there are a few parts where it's trying so hard that it becomes funny, which is really not the effect you're wanting your audience to take away from a movie that's that supposed to be that brutal. But it's worth a watch. I still enjoyed it. And finally, I'll finish out by saying I saw what is kind of like I said with The Substance last year, is when I walked out of the theater. I am fully predicting this is going to be my movie of the year with 6.5 months to go. Sinners. Holy shit, this movie is fantastic. It had been out for several weeks. I'd wanted to see it, but just we kept having stuff come up and we didn't get a chance. And I was so glad our theater held it over for as long as they did, because it's doing really well, almost entirely by word of mouth apparently. And boy, it earns every bit of praise it's been getting and then some. It's so fucking good. Has anyone else had a chance to see it yet?
Yeah, I saw it on opening weekend.
Excellent.
Yeah, I loved it too.
Yeah, I've been trying to get to it, and thankfully I checked my theater, and it's here next week too. So I have to go see it in theater. It's just one of those things.
Good deal. Yeah,
Life has
definitely.
been crazy, but I'm gonna get to it.
Ryan, did you stay until the very, very end?
Yes.
And you saw the little music number then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. That was good. I mean, that last little bit, it's just a nice little bit of extra that doesn't really add anything. But if you get up and leave before the mid-credits thing, like, that is important to the story.
Oh, yeah.
But I get the thing at the end kind of is too, because, well, anyway,
Yeah,
I can't
come
really
on,
say
guys.
anything because it'll spoil the whole thing. So never mind. Anyway, just stay to the very fucking end of the movie, people, when you go see it, because it's great.
And I love that it's like, I think I forget who, some mainstream news put out like a headline, some website that covers films. It was like, this movie did this much, but the budget was this and this, and like Ben Stiller and all these like pretty big names are like, just say that it did well, like, fuck off and quit trying to twist everything into bad, like, just let movies succeed. Like, you don't have to try to find the bad in every story. Jesus Christ. Like, an original black horror movie is doing very well at the box office.
Is fucking ripping it up at the box office. And Ryan Coogler has such an incredible deal with the movie too, where I can't remember if it's after 10 or 15 years or something, like, all the rights revert back to him, and he will own the movie outright forever after that.
Nice.
Like, that is just an incredible,
Fuck yeah.
all around. It's just, it's so good.
Right on. See anything else?
Probably, but that's enough.
All right. Rod, what have you watched?
I don't have a very big list, but I
Yeah,
did go
I doubt
see... I kept it a little bit smaller.
You might be the only one on here who watches more movies than I do.
Yeah, it depends on what point of time you say, but I did see Until Dawn in the theater, and I've never played the game, so I had no frame of reference, but I really liked it.
Oh,
I
it's
don't
based
think
on
it's
a
gonna...
game. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the game Larry Fessenden worked on, isn't it?
I'm not 100% sure. But, so I didn't have any, like, negative connotations that, or whatever anybody's saying, but I liked it. It won't be my top 10, but it's a good popcorn kind of flick. I also, since I watched a certain movie for this show, I decided to get the sequel, so I watched Scanners 2, The New Order. It's kind of fun.
I've never
But
seen any of the sequels.
I'm telling you, man, the Scanner Cop movies are where it's at for the sequels.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check those out.
You wouldn't think that would be the case, but they're very entertaining.
And then I saw Scanners 3, The Takeover. That one's just bonkers. It's just there's a asylum like place, and they let them loose, and it's just like a freaking Three Stooges kind of. But I don't know. Have you seen that one, Brian?
Yeah, I've seen all the
All of
sequels.
them. Okay. I
Yeah.
in preparation for in May, I'm doing like killer robots, killer machine movies, and I watched
Nice.
my favorite one, Choppy Mall.
Hell yeah.
So that's my favorite Wynorski movie. And then
Yep,
I
yep.
followed it up with The Car.
Ooh.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
No.
Didn't we do it
The
on the
car?
show? Unless you were missing her that episode, but yeah, I'm positive we did the car at some point.
Might have been before my time.
It's got the elder Brolin in it. The father, he's in there. And Cinemark's been doing these about once or twice a month, but they do a secret movie screening, and it's usually a movie that's either coming out later that week or the following week, and they always have it on a Monday. And I saw one that did not get any advertisement. It might have played a trailer in the week before, but it was Fight or Flight with Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, I saw a trailer for that. That looked cool.
Did you?
Was that
Yeah, it was
a mystery movie?
a mystery movie. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it's not a great movie by any means, but it's a fun action one. Lots of gore and fights.
It sort of made me think of what's the Bullet Train? That's what the trailer looked like. You know, like people stuck in a small one space and have to fight it out.
Yeah. Especially if you saw the trailer, you probably saw a garden tool
Yeah,
being thrown around.
yeah. And he has like
What?
bleach blonde hair or something, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's a little different.
He's still hot though.
Yeah, it's not a deal breaker. Okay, and the last one I'll put out there is one that you'll hear on the wrong podcast died is On Golden Pond
Okay.
with it's not your kind of bag, I guess.
I don't know what it is.
Where was the crickets
Well,
on that one?
Yeah,
it wasn't
thanks a
quick
lot.
enough. I'm just tell us what about it.
So it's a 1981 film, but it's got Henry Fonda and Jane Fonda, so a father-daughter combo who were actually playing a father-daughter in it.
Okay.
And they're just kind of the father's sort of on his downside of life. You know, he's getting a little bit of dementia, and the daughter just wants to repair her relationship with him.
Okay. Cool.
It's out on a pond.
Who plays the mother in that? Is that Hepburn? Or
Yeah, Katharine Hepburn.
okay, I thought so.
So, not too bad of a movie, but you'll hear more of my thoughts on that when that episode comes out.
All right.
Hey, Tad, what have you watched?
I'm so glad you asked. I've watched quite a bit, actually, compared to the last few episodes. I caught Hell of a Summer, which I know Rod also saw, I believe. Did you see that one in theaters?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters opening weekend.
Very cool. It wasn't, it didn't break any new ground, but it was a lot of fun. It's like a horror comedy, and it's actually directed by Billy Burke and Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, and also stars Finn, his directorial debut, which is why I was sort of interested in it. And it's a summer camping slasher where it's sort of a whodunit, who's killing who type thing, but it's a bunch of teenagers at a summer camp, and it's done very humorously. And I thought hell of a first movie for. Of course I feel like this kid's still like 12. He's probably like 30 now, because they fucking take forever to film these series.
Yeah.
But that one's definitely worth checking out. I think it's streaming on demand now, and I really like that one. I finally saw Death of a Unicorn because it hit streaming. I really like that one, but I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. It was good. I don't want to tell anyone don't watch it, because you should watch it. But it didn't come off as it has the A24 logo at the beginning, so I have high expectations, and it's not necessarily that it was worse than I expected. It just wasn't what I thought it'd be. Maybe more funny. The tone's really weird on it, I would say.
Yeah, it felt like it was missing something.
Yeah, and it has it has the best ingredients. I mean, Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega, a hell of a cast. Will Poulter, just Steve Park, just a fantastic cast. But it's a cool story, but it just felt like they didn't really know what to do. Like in the third act, I don't know. But Killer Unicorns, that's pretty fun. And Paul Rudd is always funny, but he didn't have much to do. I don't know. I still recommend watching it. It just wasn't my favorite thing. Of course, Joe Bob showed City of the Living Dead and Ring, which I've seen. City of the Living Dead. I have not seen. I don't think I've seen Ring, but very cool. And I know poor Brian over there was squirming through the night as Joe Bob said Ringu every 5 minutes. I swear he was just targeting you.
It felt like it.
Those are a lot of fun. I'm sure most of us watched Joe Bob, so I won't go on with those. One other movie that I rewatched for like the millionth time, but this is one that I probably should have mentioned, or I should mention in our bonus, that I'm just very curious about the making of these movies. The Brady Bunch movie from 1995. I fucking love those movies.
Yeah.
So I have so many questions after every time I watch them. I catch them on Pluto in the middle of the night. Such a smart idea of like, what if we drop the Bradys in modern times and made a parody? And it's done so smartly, and the casting is so good on these, and they still hold up. They're still hilarious. But I just don't get how like a writer's room came up with this idea, and they made a movie, and they made a sequel, and
it worked.
And
That's
it worked
the thing,
so
too.
well both
Yeah.
times. The movies still stand up. I love these movies. I'm sure there might be a commentary out there or something on a DVD that would enlighten me, or I could just search on YouTube or something. But I'm just so very curious about like the process of getting these greenlit and made and everything, because they fascinate me every time I watch them. And what's funny is, at like 3 a.m, I'll start watching one of these things on Pluto, and then I start going down the rabbit hole on Reddit, and there's a whole like group of people that are my age and maybe a little bit younger who grew up watching this, and I'm not one of them. I understood it, but people who watched these and did not get that they were parodies and thought that these were actually canon in the Brady Bunch franchise, and that they thought these like were the same actors and stuff. Like they thought like because the casting was so good, they were like, they just like it's like the Munsters, where it's like, they're just doing movies now instead of the TV show.
Were they confused when Grandma shows up at the house at the end and it's an older Florence Henderson then?
But they probably don't recognize her, because she still looks great, but probably doesn't put two and two together, I'm guessing. But yeah, I was just reading on Reddit, and people were like, today I learned, like, when I was a kid, it was like, I just assumed they didn't get the parody part of it. They just thought it was another, because it's so spot on with the tone, that people thought it was actually the Brady Bunch. But
you want to know something about that movie that I didn't learn till way later in life? I just got to say, Gary Cole is one of the most underrated character actors in the history of cinema. I did not realize that was Gary Cole for the longest time.
Who does he play?
He plays
the dad from
the dad. Yeah,
yeah, and he's from Office Space, right?
Office Space, yep, and 1,000 other things.
1 Hour Photo, Talladega Nights, Dodgeball, yeah.
Yeah, and no two roles are
American
identical,
Gothic.
both in character and physically even. Like, I never realized that was him until probably a couple of years ago, to be honest.
He's actually really great in I'm drawing a blank now. Oh, the sequel, when he's like when the husband comes back, because I watched the sequel too, and when he has to play it cool, but he's also sort of like passive aggressive. He's very funny in the sequel. Like, you give him a little bit more to chew on, not just like play the dad again. but I think those movies are underrated. Like, they should still be talked about up there with like Wayne's World and some of these 90s comedies that are just fucking great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the final one I will mention, go out on a bad note. I watched the movie No Other Land, which won the Oscar for Best Documentary. I booked it at the Capitol. It is not a fun movie. Most theaters, no cinema like multiplexes will touch this thing because it's about the Palestine-Israel conflict, and it's very fucking sad. Basically, this journalist goes over there and films what's happening as the Israeli and Palestinian people clash, and they're getting their homes torn down by bulldozers, and they just keep coming in and claiming that, oh, your home happens to be on our military training ground, so we have grounds to just bulldoze your house, like, on 5 minutes notice. So they take all the shit out, and they bulldoze the house, and they go, like, half a mile over, and the families are living in a cave, and they rebuild an entire house, and then a week later they come back and they're like, oh, by the way, you're back on our training grounds. We brought a bulldozer and smashed your house again. It's just, yeah, and it's that for like an hour and a half of just people getting their fucking lives destroyed, and it's just, there's like not one bit of hope, not one bit of joy. There's nothing. It's just grim, sad, and it's important. But it's very controversial right now. Like, the director got kidnapped after they won the Oscar, and held for ransom. It's a whole thing. So mostly indie theaters are playing it. There's not streaming anywhere. It's very like it's like sort of like punk rock the way they're distributing this thing. I reached out to another theater, a friend who booked it, and got an email address and emailed them, and they're not even like sending out physical DCPs. They're like, here's a link to download it. I'm like, this movie won the fucking Oscar, and you're sending me a link to download it. Okay.
Because I suppose if they mailed you a DCP, that would give you an address, and you might want to go kidnap someone for ransom.
Something like that. And they said, this, because of it's very low budget. It's all shot on like phones and handhelds. It's, very crudely edited. It's just, they had no budget for distribution. They don't even have a distributor. Like it's very, it's important, but it's definitely like no one wants to touch it. And I was like, well, we got decent enough crowds to make our money back on it. So we didn't, I just wanted to break even. I think it's important to put like social issues out there too. And it was not a fun watch, but an important one. So that's what I watched.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Tad. Let's get into our Cronenberg films here. We got one from each member of the family. Tad, where are we starting off with our discussion tonight?
Our first movie is Humane.
While we every day bear witness to the catastrophic ecological collapse that is plaguing our planet, we must not forget that this is, above all, a human crisis.
I am in favor of this government doing whatever it takes to win this war.
It's not a war. Wars have opposing sides.
Humanity is the opposing side. We are engaged in nothing less than a life and death struggle against our own extinction.
We are so happy you all joined us tonight for a family dinner.
What is going on?
We've decided to enlist. What? She's gone.
I'm sorry, I can't do it. I will always love you.
Hi, I'm Bob.
It's them!
Oh, they're early.
You're not gonna like this, but we're here to collect 2 bodies.
I already told you Dawn left.
And that's unfortunate. But the rules are the same for everybody. Think about your lives. I'm sure one of you is gonna realize that it's not all that great.
I know we're family and all, but if Bob needs a second body, it's not gonna be mine.
What are they still doing in the house?
You know, based on my experience in similar situations, I want to say, yeah, killing one another. think I'm the bad guy, but I'm doing important work to save the planet.
We can get through this, but we have to stick together.
It's been a hell of a night, huh?
After a global collapse, one wealthy family hosts a dinner party to decide who gets euthanized for the greater good because nothing says family bonding like voluntary extinction. This movie is directed by Caitlin Cronenberg, the directorial debut. And what a cast, but I have to say first and foremost, Enrico Colantoni as Bob, he steals the entire film. He is so good.
Hell yeah.
He is so funny.
He is my favorite, yeah.
He is just, just knocks out of the park in this. This is the second time I watched it. I watched this, actually, I remember now reaching out to our guest Rod, and because he saw it before me, and I said, what'd you think? Is it worth watching? And we sort of went back and forth, and I watched it. It didn't make my top 10, but I think I appreciate it even more on the second watch, especially that performance, Bob's performance. So good. This one is sort of a mixture of comedy, horror. I was like, I'm curious to hear Mike's thoughts because it is a one location. Doesn't really leave the house at all. They go out in the front yard, but outside of that, it's, a lot of talking and a lot of ominous. They don't really tell you exactly what's going on in the world and why these people are giving themselves. And probably more timely now than it was a year ago when it came out. Feels a little too real right now. But is this a first watch for anyone?
Well, it was for me. It's definitely a first-time watch for me, and I'm just going to say it probably would have made my top 10 of 2024. It's definitely my favorite of this episode, for sure. I loved it. Yes, the one location thing, you're right, Tad. You hit the nail on the head. I love that stuff. Minimal cast, single location, and Bob is the best of this film. He just totally steals the show, 100%. And just the fact that he is the antagonist and not a great guy, but he's still just so darn lovable. You just love him. He's just adorable and just so flighty and fun, and I love him. But yeah, I thought the whole cast was great, except for I am generally a fan of Jay Baruchel. I love him when he's playing nerdy characters and stuff, but this time trying to play a little bit more of a grown-up, adult asshole type of character, it wasn't working for me. His usual mannerisms and tics that he does when he's playing nerdy characters work for that, but the way he's just physically holding himself in this movie just was so distracting at times. It just did not feel like this character was a fit for him. I'm sorry to say.
He came off.
I generally like him. But.
Sort of like a tech or like a crypto bro to me in this. Like, that was where I sort of went with my mind as believable, but I can see what you're saying is like he's not believable as like the power-hungry dickhead.
Yeah.
He usually comes off as uncomfortable, not confident, like anxious person.
Did anybody else get the feeling, though, that he's a dickhead, but he doesn't know he's a dickhead? Like, he's completely unaware that he's an asshole.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he's through the whole movie, he's just making excuses for his actions the whole time. Absolutely.
In the family of rich assholes who grew up in the best, the financially well-off environment, but also didn't get enough hugs from mom and dad.
Yes.
Right. You totally get the feeling he believes all of his excuses.
Yeah.
Like he's not someone who's conniving enough to the point where he's manipulating the situation. He really does believe he's as innocent
and a great dad
and well-intentioned
doing the right
as
thing, and yeah.
He is. Yeah, right.
And the government won't fuck him over.
Yeah.
And I will say, as far as his character goes, that he's probably got maybe one of the better arcs of the film, because he gets to that moment in the third act there when he does realize that he's kind of a piece of shit and that he's a horrible father. And so in that regards it works, but yeah, I just think maybe it was just miscast. I hate to say that.
The first time I saw this, I had not seen any of Schitt's Creek.
Oh, yeah.
So rewatching it for the episode, it's like, oh shit, it's Stevie.
Yep.
For those of us who don't watch, what are you saying?
The one sister who's got the daughter that's in the that's in the
sort of bitch.
Yeah, she plays the innkeeper at the
yeah.
hotel on Schitt's Creek, and she's hilarious.
Gotcha.
On that show.
Rachel.
Yeah, best character on that show, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Bitchy daughter.
Right. This one, I like it, but I don't love it. And I think it's because it leans too hard into being funny. I wish it was meaner and darker. Because the Cronenberg family typically kind of specializes in mean and dark, and if there is humor, it is pitch fucking black.
Maybe she's a palate.
And at times this one... Yeah, and it just and especially, and I do like Bob. He is amusing, but at times, especially with his goofiness, like it almost feels like sitcom humor, and maybe that's just because I remember him from Just Shoot Me. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's just there's this movie just needs to punch harder, I guess.
Huh. I can see that.
Like again, I'm not like, I still like it. I've watched it twice now. I don't regret it, and at some point in the future, I may very well watch it again. But like one touch that I really love is at the beginning when the Stevie's daughter's getting dropped off, and they have like that foil on the car windows. Just like little bits of world building details like that. I like the ozone layer is fucked, and the UV radiation from the sun during the day is so strong that you can no longer even just drive around in a car and assume that's going to be enough shade. Like you have to have this special film on your windows to, you know, I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, I guess I wish they would have dug a little more into the ecological collapse. And just had a nastier streak through the whole thing. Like by the time the shit starts getting really out of control, it just didn't feel like the stakes were that much.
Yeah, it seemed like they sort of just put that on the back seat of like, this is how we get this story going, and then it's not really a factor, and it just becomes like a family drama.
Right.
And I get that. Part of me appreciates it. Part of me is like, yeah, it doesn't have much like to say about the politics that they're start with. When you start, you think it's going to be a political movie, and it turns more into a family drama, and then it wraps back up with more of the politics of, you know, giving yourself up for the good of the country. You know, it's like enlisting, but literally just killing yourself.
See, and I think that's one of the things I like about it is the family drama aspect of it, because this is obviously a broken family. And they're brothers and sisters, but they obviously don't have that strong of a bond. So it's interesting the kind of the back and forth of like, you know, I will kill you to save my life, versus at moments where it's, well, we're still family. None of us deserve to die kind of aspect of it, especially with the adopted brother.
No,
that's kind of the black sheep of the family is on top of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think that makes for some very interesting moments as well. The fact that he's truly not a blood family member, and then he's had like issues with drugs and everything.
You sort of sympathize with him, like the only one in the family, I think, is like...
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And also, as far as like, I think they did a really good job as well building the world with what's going on outside. It kind of reminds me of the first Purge movie. You have this like incredible concept going on the outside, yet we're stuck on the inside with these people. Not that I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I love it, but it'd be interesting if they made a franchise out of this and just told a bunch of stories on the outside.
Yeah, because I would say that's what I don't like. I think the first Purge movie is my least favorite because of that. Like, the whole time I'm like, point the camera out the window. I don't give a fuck about this family. I want to see what's going on out there. Where this, not so much, because the family drama is very interesting to me, and figuring out once it's like the family all turns on each other. That's, and we're going back and forth between them and Bob out in the RV. That's so much fun.
Yeah.
I kind of echo with Mike. I dislike political movies, like when it comes to horror, and I understand it has its place in there and all, but that's why I liked about this movie is that it didn't go heavily into it, and I kind of like the family dynamic too a little bit, a little dysfunction and everything, and yeah, of course, Bob was pretty awesome. One thing though that I picked out from there was when him and Mia, the little girl, are in the trailer, and he's telling her how, won't you be glad, like your horrible family will be gone and it'll be for the greater good. And then there was something that she says. She says, I just think you like to watch people die. And Bob goes, can't it be both? I thought that was like the greatest line ever. It's like he's being so honest. But yeah, he turns out to be kind of a pretty big dickhead when he withholds some information from the family.
The scenes in the trailer with Bob and the daughter are some of my favorite moments. Just the dynamic and contrast between the two, especially with how Bob handles the situation. He's always trying to play it cool and calm, and he's just got this lovable goofiness about him. But I don't know, there's a tension there that I'm just waiting the whole time and dreading the flip. At what point is Bob just going to lose it on this kid?
Right.
And she keeps pushing his buttons.
Fucks with the cards, spills his popcorn, yeah.
He's stapling those cards back together. Oh,
and the way he plays it tongue in cheek about such a serious thing. He's like, well, I'm going to need a body, and I told you to get her, not shoot her at, when the girlfriend shows up. Like, he's so just nonchalant about death because he sees it
he's
every
so
day.
Desensitized. Yeah, he's so desensitized with his job that it doesn't hold any impact for him anymore.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to meet his quota.
Yep.
That's what's more important.
That's it.
Yeah. I'll say I really like the little stinger ending. I thought it was great. I know it's a little too happy ending, but at the same time, movies like this, where whether or not the characters are going to survive or not, their lives are never going to be the same if they do. Mm-hmm. And I just hate it when a movie builds these stakes and that we all know there's going to be major repercussions for their actions.
And we don't get to see it.
And we don't get to see it. It just cuts to credits. And this one does that, but then gives you one more little stinger at the end that, yes, it's kind of a happy ending thing, but it's also a little ambiguous on how exactly they got out of it, but you can put it together and Mm-hmm. I liked that little moment right there at the end. It's like, okay, well, this is how they got out of the situation and not have their butts thrown in jail. Okay. Works.
We're going to see if I'm going to pull up Brian Clark here and pull off some trivia that Tad might have, but...
dickhead.
You're going to pull me off? What?
Yeah, you wish. So, he tells Mia... Bob tells Mia that he has an Instagram page at What About Bob 42, and it's a real page. I went to it. There's like 10 posts.
They're all popcorn kernels in a bag. How many?
It is, yeah. And as recent as May 9th of 2024.
Oh, nice.
So it's been a year.
Yeah. Well, speaking of trivia, what other trivia is there for this, Tad?
Well, Bob's Instagram account, no. It is that was the first thing I had, but I will add that the first photo that was on there is the photo he mentions where he only had 4 unpopped popcorn kernels in the bag, and it was posted March 20th, 2021, which is more than 3 years before the film came out. So they've been planning this or they just had this account and they're like, what if we call him Bob? And I'm curious how that happened. But David Cronenberg himself is the narrator on all the DOCS commercials.
Oh, cool.
So all the TV commercials that are like, kill yourself for us, like the government commercials. He is the narrator on those. And then the last thing I had, it's not really trivia, but as with the Canadian films of her father David and brother Brandon, Caitlin set this Canadian film in a generic North American setting with generic North American characters instead of a definite Canadian setting with Canadian characters. So continuing that tradition.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right, so thank you for that, Tad. Now it's time to move on to our next film from 2023, directed by Brandon Cronenberg. It's Infinity Pool.
I don't understand why we're doing this. We barely know these people.
It's one day. Let's mix things up a bit.
You're just happy you found your fan club.
I've been waiting 6 years for your second book. Is it coming out soon?
I'm working on it.
What do you do for money then?
You married rich.
I actually came here looking for inspiration.
Mr. James Foster, you'll have to come with us.
Here, the punishment for any crime committed is death.
What did you say?
But for a significant sum, we'll build a double to send in for your execution.
Double.
Looks just like me.
Maybe think of it as a gift. It's like a new skin working into place.
For you to complete your transformation.
This is just a little game.
But it can take some blood. Show me how strong you are. It's really disgusting. You could just sit there and watch it happen.
You know, James, do you worry they got the wrong man?
James and M. Foster are on vacation at an all-inclusive beach vacation resort on the island of La Tolca. The mysterious Gabby convinces James and M to leave the resort for a night of fun. A fatal car accident leaves James facing the island's law of zero tolerance policy for any crime. The punishment is to either be executed or watch yourself die. Dun dun dun. So this now is my second Brandon Cronenberg film, and twice now I have loved the concept, loved a lot of things going on in the film, but the overall film and the overall execution itself kind of leaves me a bit flat.
Shut up.
Yeah, I knew that was going to come. Yeah, you guys will have a chance to tell me why I'm wrong, but I think the idea of cloning to let the victims kill your clone and make you watch was really interesting and could lead to many interesting situations. But first of all, like, I was not invested in James at all. Like, these characters were just rather two-dimensional and bland to me, and was not invested in them at all. And although Brandon explores many ideas and really cool things, especially I love the theme of, did they kill the original or did they kill the clone? That stuff was really cool. I like that a lot. Those are definitely a lot of themes that I would like to see explored in this concept. If they can just clone people, why not just clone the guy that James hit and killed in a movie? Just saying. From the moment of hitting the guy to when they end up in jail and then James is interrogated is definitely some of the most intense moments of this film. Just totally on the edge of my seat. And also, one of my favorite scenes is where the group is on their crime spree only to be executed by getting their necks slit. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's really well done, and the reveal is done really well. The theme feels like it just goes on too long. There's way too many of those psychedelic, dreamy, trippy scenes that just after a while adds nothing for me at all. Don't get me wrong.
You asked why they didn't just clone.
What?
Why they didn't just clone the guy that he ran over? I'm assuming it's a money issue. I don't think they just do this for any old buddy.
I thought it
because all the people who instigate this are, the people who trick James into going along with their thing. Obviously have money.
Yeah.
Because they're going to this crazy exclusive resort, whereas the person he kills is just some poor villager from out in the sticks.
Yeah.
I also thought that maybe you had to be alive for you to be cloned.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Or that.
Probably.
Yeah, I will just go ahead. This was number 6 on my list for 2020, or the best of 23 horror films. I love this one. Brandon is like my, I guess, modern favorite horror director so far. I adore this movie. I love Mia Goth so much. I own and I sort of put this in our little private group chat. I regretfully I have the Steelbook 4K and the special unrated edition and watched it, and then I thought, like, immediately as the credits were rolling, why didn't I fucking watch this with the commentary? Because I've seen this like 3 times. Why did I not watch the commentary for the show? I'm an idiot. So I guess I'll have to watch it a 5th time and a 6th time. But this, I definitely am a sucker for style over substance sometimes. So I can admit that this movie just looks really fucking cool, and the masks that they wear and the concept is really cool. Mm-hmm. And Mia Goth is a goddess to me. So, and with or without eyebrows, I don't care. It's colorful, and there's, just guts, blood and guts and gore and tits and everything I love in a good movie. And it just,
a lot of good gore. Yeah.
It just reminds me of, like, I don't know. It's like a modern day version of his dad, really. And yeah, I could go on and on about this one, but I think it's so slick and cool, and it's just, I really, really enjoy it and recommend this one and Possessor. And, when we revisited and watched Possessor for the last episode, I was like, how can we all watch Infinity Pool again? Let's just do a Cronenberg, because there's a whole entire family of Nepos, and I think...
So you did what I do and just try to base a whole episode around wanting everyone to watch one movie.
It's sort of, but also
I do that a lot too.
A little bit, but also I think it's so cool that there's an entire family that makes good horror movies.
Yeah.
And I definitely think, you can throw the Nepo name around, but Brandon's clearly talented and does his own thing, and you can compare him to his dad, but this has some body horror to it, but it's not necessarily, I mean, they're literally cloning people, so I guess you can say it's a body horror, but the story doesn't necessarily depend on the weird out, maybe I'm completely wrong now, I'm saying it out loud, because it's a clone movie, so yeah, it's a body horror, so.
Well, and it's also psychological horror too, though, because you really get into James's head as he falls down this hole of debauchery to the point where you get to the scene when they tell him that they've kidnapped the cop that put him through all of this shit, and they're kicking the crap out of him, and then Gabby pulls the hood off and is like, surprise, it's one of you.
Yeah, just fucking with him, yeah.
But this is my favorite of the night. I've seen Possessor, obviously, but I have not yet seen Antiviral, but this is definitely my favorite of the two of Brandon's movies that I've seen. I mean, this feels like it's just like one strong sneeze away from being as depraved as something like Trauma or Serbian Film.
Yeah.
Like, you could very easily tip it into that territory. This movie is just a miserably unpleasant thing to watch, and I fucking love it for that. Talking about I love like the masks that they wear. You're talking about. I love how the implication, because before anything even gets fucked up and weird, they're doing that dance at the resort, like all the resort workers are with their, like, this is our ceremonial thing for this island, and all these are our sacred masks and whatever, and by the way, they're for sale in the gift shop. And that is it's a little throwaway line, but it says so much about this world, that they are so dependent on first world tourism dollars that they are happy to sell out every bit of their culture to, or at least some of them are, maybe not everyone, but that this resort just caters to these just shitty rich fuckers who don't care about anything but having a good time, which, and then obviously that becomes more and more clear as things go on, and they take advantage of this system. And I found myself, I don't remember if I ever thought this the first time I saw it. This is my second watch, and watching it again, I find myself wondering now, how is it that this little podunk third world country has this cloning technology that nobody else has? And they even they bring it up in the movie, like, yeah, we've tried to replicate this process and we just can't figure it out. But whether it's something, something in the water, something in the environment of this island, they have some scientist that nobody else can get, like, whatever it is, but it doesn't even matter. That is so irrelevant to what's going on. They have this power, and that's good enough. Now let's watch these people fucking destroy themselves. And the bit where, the vacation's over and it's time to go home, and they're just all on the bus talking about, like, where are you going to go for dinner when you get back to the airport, and all this stupid shit, and he's just sitting there in shock in the back of the bus. And then that last shot that pans through that rainy window, and you see him sitting out there, and I don't think that is meant to be literal. I could be wrong, but I took that to mean that is just like in his brain, he is there 24/7, 365. Like that last shot of him sitting alone in that deck chair in the rain, just waiting for the resort to reopen, is just like he can't think about anything else until he gets to go back and do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit, and this is not in the quality of movie, mind you. This is almost a sin for saying, and I still think it's a good, but like the Hostel series of like this fucked up underground thing that people get hooked on, and it's like these rich assholes can't get their rocks off, so they come to this place, and then they realize this place still isn't the refuge they wanted. It's not, he has writer's block, so he's a rich asshole who has a rich wife, and, well, let's go to an all-inclusive resort, and, this isn't doing it, so we have to amp up the stakes, and suddenly we're, cloning ourselves and going and stealing and robbing and killing, and still not enough. Let's fuck with each other and, bring out a clone, and, yeah, it reminded me a little bit of that whole underground world of Hostel.
Yeah.
But not shit.
Yeah. I mean, Hostel 2, I love the Hostel movies, but I think Hostel 2 is underrated. But this is not. This is definitely way more. It's better written, better directed, better acted. Everything is better. But yeah.
I really like this one too. I think I might have had it in my top 10 of that year, but I think Brandon, he takes a little bit from his dad, and then he even takes a little bit what he thought was Argento with the color palette, and like when they're doing the psychedelics and
weird
having an
shit.
orgy.
Yeah.
and it's just the reds and the blues and everything. But it just seems like Gabby's character, for instance, she like slowly shows herself, like throughout the thing where she just gets crazier and crazier as it goes until the very end where she's just back to normal. Nothing happened. Like the scene where he's trying to leave on the bus and they shoot the bus and
Yeah, stop him. And...
she's just completely nuts at that point.
James. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree with Brian. It's like he pretty much gave up his life at the end. James did, where he just sits in the rain and he's just waiting for them to come back.
Doesn't want to go back to that life of, trying to write and having a rich wife and everything being safe, I guess.
Right. But yeah, it was pretty cool that he's like collecting the urns too. Like they were just collections.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys like if where this is streaming, if it's the unrated versus the rated R cut.
I actually found it on Fandango Voodoo, and it was $5 this past week, but there was an unrated cut that I didn't see. Otherwise, I might have grabbed that one first.
I've seen both. I think the first time I saw it was the R-rated one, and then the 4K is the unrated. And if you're wondering the difference, there's just a lot more nudity, including a shot of Skarsgård Dong actually ejaculating.
Okay, so I was thinking I watched the unrated one, but I definitely didn't see that. So
yeah, I think I remember like watching it and being like, this is probably one of those bullshit, like it's a director's cut and I won't be able to tell. It's like an extra second of a slit throat, and then I'm like, oh, there's a ejaculating penis on my screen and on my 70-inch TV. Cool.
I mean, that happens a lot at my house. It just didn't happen in this particular moment.
All right. Well, what trivia do you have for this one, Ted? Besides ejaculating penises.
It's quite a bit. It was rumored that Robert Pattinson was actually offered the lead role, but passed on this. I think he's a great actor, but I think that the Skarsgård, I don't even remember which one it is, but Skarsgård did a great job. I do remember, this is not part of the trivia, but now it makes me think about this. At the red carpet premiere, he came in like a tux suit, but without pants. He wore like whitey tighties. He wore the rest of the suit, including like high socks, dress shoes, the jacket, the whole thing. And Mia Goth like walked him on the red carpet in like a dog collar and a leash, which is fucking cool.
That's his pick on IMDb, I believe.
Yep.
It's Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah. Just sort of transitioning from what I mentioned, originally rated NC-17 for graphic violence and sexual content. After an unsuccessful appeal for an R, Neon edited the film to get the R, and now the uncut version that was screened at Sundance is what you can get out there on some places. Again, it not only has an extra dong, it has some extra lady parts too. I'm not sure about the violence, but just more nudity. And then this is the most interesting part to me. It's a little long, but I do think it's interesting. Brandon Cronenberg, speaking with Fangoria, talked about how a real-life vacation experience inspired this movie. He's quoted as saying, "The film started as a short story about the first execution, and as I was expanding it into a feature, I kept going back to a vacation I went to about 20 years ago at an all-inclusive resort in the Dominican Republic. It's very surreal because they would bus you in the middle of the night so you couldn't see any of the country. It would be dark out. They would just drop you off at this resort compound, which was in fact surrounded by razor wire fence. You weren't allowed to leave, much like in the film, and there was a kind of a fake town where you could go shopping. The Chinese restaurant and the horrible discotheque in the movie are both based on that actual resort. The scene with the man on the ATV on the beach being chased by guards actually happened during my vacation. And then at the end of the week, they would bus you back to the airport during the day, and you would see the actual immediate surrounding country, which was very poverty-stricken. There were people living in shacks. The contrast was obviously horrible, but also surreal because you realized you never had actually entered the country. You were just dropped into this strange pocket of a sort of alternative dimension that had just grown up to become this tacky Disneyland mirror image of
That's
reality.
so fucked up too, that they take you in at night so you can't see all that, but when you leave, they make sure
They're
you
like,
see
fuck
it.
it, we already
so
got
just
your money.
like, oh, did you have a nice week? Well, look at all the shit that, you know, like you could have. You're just here blowing your expendable American income. Here's all these people living in tar paper shacks and whatever. Jesus Christ.
I know. My sister and her husband like went on one of those vacations at an all inclusive, and they talked about that, and they were like, they were warned several times, like, do not leave the resort, and if you do, like, there's no guarantees you're coming back, and you know, they said like people would leave to go get drugs and shit, and it's like that. I don't even think I would enjoy it because of someone who doesn't drink or party or anything. I'm like, nice weather and food, I guess, but like I would rather go, I don't know, somewhere cooler. Send me to Europe. I don't know. That's what I have for trivia.
Interesting. I rethink all my vacations. Brian, what's our last
movie
film?
of the night is David Cronenberg's Scanners.
I would like to scan all of you in this room, one at a time. I must remind you that the scanning experience is usually a painful one, sometimes resulting in nosebleeds, earaches, stomach cramps, nausea, sometimes other symptoms of a similar nature. At this point, I'd like to call for volunteers. Fine. Just, sit right here, please. Now, I'd like you to think of something specific.
Do I have to close my eyes?
It doesn't matter.
All right, yes, I have something.
The mind force. Scanners. Their thoughts can kill.
A lot of loud music and extremely high-pitched noises. That's a great trailer to listen to through headphones. All right. So a twitchy vagrant named Cameron Vale is captured in a food court after he almost kills a stuck-up, snooty old lady who is talking shit about him, and is taken to a man named Dr. Ruth, who trains him as a double agent to infiltrate a resistance movement of what he finds out are called scanners, led by a man named Daryl Revick. In his exploits to infiltrate this resistance movement, he gets involved with a more pacifist scanner resistance movement, led by a woman named Kim Obrist, that is resisting both Revick and Consec, the giant evil conglomeration company that Dr. Ruth is working for, in order to build a better, more peaceful world for everyone where they can all coexist. It had been quite a while since I'd seen this one. I forgot that it was so early in David's career. And I think had it been later in his career, it might have worked a little better.
But not too much
I liked
later.
it more than I remember liking it. Well, I remember liking it less than I did this time, so I still enjoyed it more. It's also a lot weirder than I remember, and I think the plot is a little too convoluted for its own good. Like, it has the feeling of biting off more than he could chew a little bit. I think Cronenberg is, regardless of where in his career it is, he's at his best when his plots are relatively simple. And it also makes sense that it's kind of convoluted because apparently the first draft of the script was just an outline of ideas. And every morning when they would go to shoot, he was like still writing scenes to hand to the actors. So that probably contributes some to the disjointed vibe of the whole thing. It's kind of like a low budget X-Men, where
It's in my notes.
we don't have to spend much money to show the suit, other than a couple of really outstanding gory practical effects sequences, which is obvious, like one of which, the head explosion, is what this movie is most remembered for. I think the lead, played by Stephen Lack, his performance is really flat, and I can't tell if that's on purpose because he is supposed to be basically a brand new person, because the whole, like, the scanners were created at first by accident by a prenatal drug that this Dr. Ruth guy created back in the 40s. This movie is very much playing on the thalidomide thing from the 50s, which these days probably a lot of people don't even remember, where I think it was an anti-nausea drug for pregnant women, caused all these horrific birth defects. And so the scanners, they're born with these psychic powers, but they're without being taught how to control them, it just makes them barely able to function in society because they can't shut out the voices of every... Oops, sorry, bumped the microphone there. Sorry about that, Jason. If you got to fix that in post. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought there now. Right. The scanners can't function in society because they're bombarded by the voices. Like, they can read everyone's minds. And so I can't tell if Stephen Lack's performance is flat because he's not a very good actor, or if because he's trying to portray basically an adult human that is a mental newborn.
Yeah.
Kind of, because he's spent his whole life as this derelict with this fractured mentality. And then you see him next to Michael Ironside playing Daryl Revick, and of course Ironside steals the fucking show because he always steals the show no matter what he's in. I mean, he's genuinely scary in this movie. Like, his performance is fucking terrifying, and it's the best part of the movie aside from the wild effects. And I love the sound effect when they're scanning, that deep whom that's just kind of in the background. Like, sometimes it's almost subliminal, but it's really cool. But yeah, so what'd you guys think?
This is like I don't know how many times for me. I've seen this several times. It's when you put that head explosion so early in the movie. I remember the first time I watched it, the anticipation of that, because I knew the scene, and I'm like, all right, scanners, and they sort of like shoot themselves in the foot or in the head by putting it right at the beginning.
Well, originally it came even earlier. It was going to be the opening scene,
and which is still good. And something about this like era, this like the clothes and the style, and I watched it on Max, and it's like really cleaned up and looks really fantastic. But it looks like it's shot on film. It's more of like an aesthetic to me than the story, because the story does get a little too convoluted for what they could do at the time. And there was rumors that, and I don't think I have this in my notes, but Boseman was supposed to do a remake in like 2017, and he said he'd only do it if Cronenberg gave him his blessing, and he wouldn't, so he didn't do it. But I don't know. It's a really cool concept. I did rewatching it in the last few times. I'm like, saw sort of the X-Men thing you're talking about, sort of funny. Less superhero and more like, using it for bad, but it'd be more like a villain version of it. But I still like this movie.
Yeah, I mean, Daryl Revick is
Yeah,
Magneto.
I still dig.
Yeah, that was literally in my notes that he is Magneto in a body horror Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I mean, even his motivation is to, kill off humanity for the new race of the Scanners. It's Magneto's motivation in the old Marvel comics.
And I dig it a lot. It's just I don't know. It's like a sort of like a warm cozy blanket. I watched it, I'll be honest, like threw it on while I was doing some work in the background because I've seen it so many times. It's not my favorite David Cronenberg, but it's definitely not my least favorite David Cronenberg. So it's probably like in the top 5 for me. Yeah, I'd say top 5 for me. But definitely, it's not number 1, but it's not at the bottom.
What is the bottom?
Probably Crimes of the Future Past, or I haven't seen
some of that later stuff.
Crimes of the Future.
Whatever, and then...
Yeah, I actually really like Crimes of the Future, but the one he did, or maybe it was a couple before that, it had Robert Pattinson in it, and Paul Giamatti is in it. It's not body horror at all. It's like that one I had a hard time even finishing.
Yeah, and he has a new one in theaters.
When he strays away from the body horror sci-fi stuff, it's a little hard for me to swallow sometimes.
Yeah, he has one in the theaters right now, The Shrouds, and I'm hearing it's...
Oh, I can't wait to see that. I've heard that's fantastic.
I've heard the opposite. I'm hearing people are like, this is an all-time low. The performances are like soap opera bad, and I don't know. But I've heard some people say they really connected to it, so I think it's like... Since it's his he's saying it's his most personal film. It's about death of a loved one, and
because he wrote it right after his wife died.
And so I've had some people who have lost, their significant others and or people close to them, and really have related to it. I've seen some film critics say that, and then other people are like, and to me, it's like, yeah, it's going to be different for every person, something like that. But I'm still going to give it a watch because even a bad Cronenberg's better than everyone, a lot of other people's best. So,
well, swinging it back to Scanners, here's a question, and it's something I kind of meant to dig into, but it's been kind of a hectic week here too, so I didn't really have time to look into it that much. Where do you think the beginning in cinema was of using mind powers equals making funny faces?
Yeah.
I'd be really curious to know, like, because, I mean, this is pretty far back, because there aren't a lot of psychic power movies before this, and there's some, like, you get stuff like Village of the Damned, where the kids have psychic powers, but they're not doing the crazy, contorted, Jim Carrey faces. It's just, like, staring straight ahead. So where was that point where, like, oh, you're doing something crazy with your mind, so, like, tip your head back and bug your eyes out and kind of twitch your nose around and I don't know. It's just
that go
I'd be
further
curious
back
as to how that
into
got
maybe
started.
Like movies where people use magic, but there's no.
Yeah, it's almost like a silent era thing.
Yeah, but
like
there's no budget
some
for special
sorcerer
effects,
and, like,
so you got to do it all in your face.
Right, or just, you don't have dialogue, so it's all like these overly theatrical facial expression things to kind of play into the back row. If it's something from like a 1920s German expressionist film, a Svengali or something like that. I haven't seen that one, but
yeah, I actually own this one on the Criterion edition. I don't know if any of you do.
No.
Yeah, I just got the generic DVD.
Me too.
Yeah. So it was a pretty good transfer, but I always feel like in his early films with Shivers, Rabbit, and The Brood, this is like the most un-David Cronenberg-like movie in that time era. I don't know if you agree with me or not, if that just sounded kind of weird, but I didn't feel Cronenberg in it.
Yeah. I agree with you, because again, aside from not something like he's known for body horror, and Brandon's kind of that way too now, where these movies are these really in-depth character studies with these occasional outbursts of just insanely grotesque violence, and this has those couple of grotesque outbursts, but the rest of it doesn't really play into that. So yeah, I agree with you. This feels kind of like the odd man out in his early works.
I kind of
Yeah, it
was
feels
starting
like-
to enjoy the sequels a little bit more too. Like they just because they add a little bit more humor, and it's 10 years later, but
Well, and they're also just fucking ridiculous.
yeah.
Almost feels like this movie where he's still staying in the world of body horror, but it also kind of reminds me of Dead Zone too, where he's exploring other things, and in both cases, it's kind of more like politics in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a classic. I think most of my notes are basically everything you guys are saying. I feel like with you, Brian, this is a movie that grows with me over time. I've always put it towards the bottom of the Cronenbergs just because I feel like it's missing a lot of the elements that I like about Cronenberg films. But this time around, when we were watching it, I definitely felt way more invested. It is kind of all over the place in its story, so it's a little bit of a jumbled mess. The head explosion scene, which is like super iconic. I wish I would have seen this movie not knowing that scene existed, like seeing it fresh.
Oh God, can you imagine going to the theater in 1981?
That's what I'm
not knowing that was going to happen.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. You know, it's still hands down one of the greatest head explosions of all time. But I also agree with you guys too in the fact that it's kind of in the wrong place because, much like the head explosion in Dawn of the Dead, it's like those moments in those two films are set up to be like, hey, this is happening right now. We're throwing this right in your face. This is just a footnote of what's to come. But you don't get that in Scanners. You definitely get that in Dawn of the Dead, but Scanners doesn't rely as heavy on the effects as like some of his other stuff. So, but it's still such a beautiful head explosion. The fact that it's like slow mo and everything, yeah.
Thinking of seeing it without knowing what's going to happen, and I don't know if this experience is something you guys had or not, but I remember, as a kid going to the video store, and of course I wasn't allowed to rent stuff like this when I was little, but of course I'd want to go to the horror section and look at all the covers before I actually went and picked out something that my parents would let me take home. And I distinctly remember the cover of this movie scaring the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Like more than a lot of more grotesque, just because it was like, it was so weird. It's the Revit character being scanned at the end, and it's all, his eyes are rolled over white and his veins are all popping out, and it kind of is sort of hazy around the edges to where it almost looks like he's on fire or something. Yeah. And I just remember looking at it thinking, like, what happens to this guy in this movie that makes him look like that?
Yeah.
It's just like kind of makes your imagination run wild.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I first saw that head explosion scene in the Terror in the Isles compilation movie. So, yeah, it was totally spoiled for me before I ever actually got to see the actual movie. Trivia time. What trivia do you have for this one, Tad?
So I'm surprised Brian didn't somehow bring this into normal conversation, but the effect for the exploding head scene was accomplished by filling a latex head of the actor with dog food, leftover lunch, fake blood, rabbit livers, and shooting it from behind with a 12-gauge shotgun. He did move it from the beginning of the film for late moviegoers. He's afraid if people came in a few minutes late and they would miss what he thought was he probably knew was going to be like the scene of the movie. So,
Yeah. So I remember reading that because it was they tried it several times and it just wasn't quite right. Any of the, like when they would like detonate an explosive inside it, and finally one guy was like, everyone go hide behind something, and he comes back with a shotgun and they're like, oh fuck.
never pass now, but
yeah,
it was the 80s, man. David Cronenberg once called this the most frustrating film he's ever made. The film was rushed through production. Filming had to begin without a finished script and end within roughly 2 months so the financing would qualify as a tax write-off. forcing Cronenberg to write and shoot at the same time. He also cited difficulty with an antagonism between the leads, particularly Patrick McGoohan and Jennifer O'Neill. The drug Ethermol bears an eerie similarity to the real-life scandal in the late 1950s, as women who had taken thalidomide during pregnancy, which was marketed as a relief for morning sickness, began to give birth to children suffering phosamilia, abbreviated flipper-like appendages or other physical deformities.
Flipper babies.
Yeah. Body horror for sure.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen the Kung Fu movie Crippled Avengers.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. All right, so that leads us into the kill of the episode. What was our favorite kill of the movies we watched? Why don't we start with Tad?
I like James watching his own execution. In Infinity
Which
Pool.
one? The first one?
Yeah.
The first execution?
Yeah, okay. I think it's powerful because you don't see it coming. You don't know it's going to happen, and it's very visceral, and you're confused a bit, too, like, what the fuck? And the fact that they're, like, sitting in a crowd watching it, that's mine.
All right. That's a good one. Brian, what about you?
The head kaboom in Scanners. It's the best head explosion in cinema history. Still yet to be topped.
Absolutely. Rod, what about you?
In an Infinity Pool, kind of what Tad was talking about, but watching the boy just stab him over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
And then when he goes into that dream-like sequence where he sees the boy and the boy's face is just maniacal.
Oh, man. I had that in my notes, and I didn't get a chance to bring it up, but that little kid, that was the scariest moment of the whole movie, when he's standing over him and starts to choke him out. But he's got the creepiest smile on his face. That's creepier than anything you see in those Smile movies, I swear.
Yeah. He makes a competition between him and Gabby, who's the craziest on that.
Yeah.
How about you, Mike?
All right, mine, well, it's an easy one. I'm right there with Brian. It's the head explosion in Scanners. It's like not just one of the greatest head explosions of all time, but one of the greatest gore effects of all time. Like, it's just never really been topped. And it's just beautiful and gruesome, and I'm always down for a good head explosion.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right, so that's another happy ending to another episode of The Cronenbergs. The whole family all learned a very valuable lesson. But on the next very special episode of The Cronenbergs, the youngest gets addicted to diet pills while studying for the big test. So be sure to tune in next time for The Cronenbergs. But that's not all for Attack of the Killer podcast. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to finish off the show with our final two segments. First, though, you're going to hear a promo for our podcast network, the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. The PFPN is home to so many great shows, such as one of our newest shows, Let's Talk Turkey. Good conversations about bad movies, where Movie Miss and others discuss bad movies that are considered turkeys, as in less than stellar in someone's opinion, whether it be a low Rotten Tomatoes score, a critical bomb, or just simply a film that the host and or guest has hated. So let's welcome Let's Talk Turkey to the PFPN. Check them out and all the other great shows at thepfpn.com. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back, and it's time to hear from you guys, the listeners. Here's Tad with shout-outs.
It's time for
shout-outs! 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 Shout-outs!
All right, I'm not going to try to do it, Jason. Over on our Facebook page, we asked, what are your favorite films directed by a Cronenberg? I was a little curious. I'm the one that posted these, and I was curious if people would catch that we didn't say by David Cronenberg, but I didn't want to spoil that we were covering all the Cronenbergs, and you guys follow directions. So we have our friends from KC, Nightmare Junkhead. We'd like to categorize Cronenberg with 3 eras: creepy, classic, and contemporary. His flicks can fall in one era or mix it up in all 3. Recent Papa Cronenberg favorites include Crimes of the Future, surprisingly funny, and Scanners, his take on the X-Men. And Kid Cronenberg faves include Possessor, We're Getting Bloody and Hanging Dong, and Infinity Pool, more dong, and an eyebrow-less Mia Goth. Love and hugs from KC. Love and hugs to you guys. Thanks for Nightmare Junkhead. Love you guys. Thanks for commenting. Over in the Facebook group, we have Tim Lennerer. I'm just gonna say The Fly real quick because it's a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Hell yeah.
We've made it this far without mentioning it. A History of Violence and Eastern Promises are both really great crime stories, and I think it's Cronenberg's intellectualism that makes both of those as good as they are. The buck-naked Viggo Mortensen knife fight in the latter is also really great. Also, cocaine is a hell of a drug, and as can be determined by a series of producers offering David Cronenberg the director's chair of Return of the Jedi, Flashdance, Beverly Hills Cop, and Top Gun. I kind of want to see his version of Top Gun where the pilots biochemically merge with the planes in a shower of viscera and metal. Thank you, Tim.
Too.
I do too. I want to see Flashdance by fucking David Cronenberg.
Yeah, that Top Gun thing, that's the Transformers movie we need.
Yes.
They try to get David Lynch and Cronenberg to do a Star Wars movie, an alternate universe. Okay, Jacob McLaughlin says, David, The Fly is a masterpiece, as is Videodrome, but I want to give a special mention to The Brood. Hell yeah. I have come to not only admire it more with each viewing, and it's become an October tradition of mine. Such a vicious and mean little picture, easily one of his best. Dead Ringers and Scanners are certainly up there as well. There will never be a better filmmaker who can show just about how absolutely disgusting the human body can be like he has. With Brandon, Possessor is one of my favorite movies of the last few years, and Antiviral is a really good debut film. And then Attacker Rose says, Infinity Pool starring the Queen, Mia Goth, and Alexander Skarsgård. I agree, the Queen. That is it for shout-outs, but if you want to call in, you can always call us and leave a message at 415-952-6857. That's 415-95-AOTKP, and that's been shout-outs.
And now the man who was kicked out of Home Depot for insisting the garden tools were gynecological instruments for mutant women, here's Insane Mike with Insane's Picks.
Going back to the shot-on video well for this Insane's Picks, but not just any shot-on video movie. Oh, no. One that was released by Troma. That's right, I'm going to be talking about Redneck Zombies from 1987.
Hell yeah.
An army soldier is driving a barrel of radioactive waste through the backwoods redneck country, and the barrel falls off the back of the Jeep and is claimed by Bob the Redneck, and uses the barrel to make his moonshine. Everybody who drinks the moonshine turns into raccoon-eyed, man-eating zombies. It's a horror comedy that delivers on the laughs and on the gore. The film is directed by
Pericles Loons.
Thank you, Pericles Loons. After he found distribution for Redneck Zombies with Troma, he would go back to work on many other Troma productions, wearing many different hats, from being special effects coordinator on Toxic Avenger Parts 2 and 3, to being second unit director on Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD. Redneck Zombies is famously known for one of the first feature films to be shot on video, although, even though all trivia says that, I just want to state right now, Boarding House came out in 1982, Sledgehammer came out in 1983, so I don't know where people over the years have claimed that Redneck Zombies was one of the first. Whatever, Redneck Zombies, still awesome. It was even used as an answer in a 1980s edition of Trivial Pursuit.
What?
Yes. The question was, what film has the tagline, "They're tobacco chewing, gut chomping, cannibal kinfolk from hell"? Answer, Redneck Zombies. Shot in 32 days on weekends over the course of an entire year, and shot in Trail Vision. You should definitely check out the shot-on-video masterpiece, Redneck Zombies, playing now on Tubi.
I definitely will.
That movie fucking rules.
Yeah, it does. I'm so glad you like that one, Brian.
It was Blood Cult was another, or like around the same time as Sledgehammer and Boarding House, wasn't it? That was shot on video. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many of them that came before Redneck Zombies, and I may be wrong. I didn't get a chance to grab my DVD of Redneck Zombies, but I swear there's even a Lloyd quote on the DVD box saying one of the first shot-on-video movies.
Well, of course Lloyd is going to say that.
And I wonder if
he was trying to
is...
sell the movie.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, I wonder if that's what caused the internet to think that this is one of the first, when
probably.
Honestly, it came way later in the realm of shot-on-video films. But, oh well.
I'm waiting for Big Back Zombies to come out.
What one?
Big Back Zombies.
Big Back?
You haven't heard of the term Big Backs?
No.
It's like what the kids are called fat people, Big Backs.
Oh, so that's a thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's that cricket sound?
Yeah. There we go.
Sounds like one of the jokes I tell on Wrong Podcast Died.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've reached the end of the show, but before we go, I want to talk to you about an upcoming event here on the Prescribed Films Podcast Network. On May 16th, the new Final Destination movie will hit theaters. To celebrate the return of the franchise, we are teaming up with other shows on the network to cover the entire series throughout the rest of May. It's going to start on the 14th with Brett and Tony with Ash and Abe, as they will be discussing Final Destination 2. The following week, on the 23rd, Screams from the Basement is going to cover parts 1 and 5. Then on the 30th, yours truly, Attack of the Killer Podcast, is going to cover parts 3 and 4. Then, after that, be sure on the 30th, on the 1st, The Wrong Podcast Died, with special guest Attack of the Killer Podcast, is going to be discussing the new one that comes out in theaters. So be sure to check out all the shows to learn all about the Final Destination movies. Do not miss this first ever epic Prescribed Films Podcast Network event. So you can check out all of the shows at thepfpn.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. Be sure to join our Discord so you can enter our big contest where you can win some great horror merchandise. And my laptop does really horrible autocorrect to change the word merch to meth. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Win some meth, kids. Go to our Discord.
Get you some meth. That's not, no. We're not going to do that. Anyway, be sure to also join our Patreon. You can do that at go to jointheattackers.com. And lastly, make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcast.
And speaking of meth, thank you, Rod, for being on the show.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry.
Thanks,
thanks
yeah,
Rod.
I mean, this is a side piece here. Come on.
Where can we find you on socials? Like, do all the plugs.
Yeah, I kind of was starting that when I shouldn't have talked about myself.
It's fine.
But the Wrong Podcast Died. You can find us on Facebook. You can find me on Rod's Horror Movie Cave on Facebook. To find the episodes, you gotta go find I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast, where you got Brian and Clint, they're the host. You can find them on Spotify, Podbean, Apple, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, all the tiki-talkies. And you can find the other shows that we do, because we do almost like you guys, we do several different things. We have Indie Spotlight with Brian, Clint, and Leah. We have Salute the Shorts with me and Brian, and Appendages with me and Brian. And Let's Get Physical Media that Brian's been doing, where he's trying to show off some of the physical media, because we all believe in physical media and we don't want to see it die.
Right on.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Rod, for being on. It's been way too long. It's been a long time coming. We've needed you on the show forever. Love having you. It's been fun, man.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. And can't wait to have all of you on our show.
I know. I'm stoked. Talk about some Final Destination. All right. But until then, we will talk to you all next time on Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Oh no, could this be the end of?